Where are you going?
Hey everybody, we're going to watch some Biden here. He's taking questions right now. We're a few minutes behind, I should say. I'm going to start things up over on the YouTube. We're going to not start quite yet because it looks like the broadcast to Twitter has been delayed or possibly isn't going live. Let me verify that. You kids talk amongst yourselves. It looks like YouTube is working, Twitch is working. YouTube is working, Larry, so youtube.com/KevinLeeFather. And I'm going to be back in just a second. You kids talk amongst yourselves. All right, the internet looks like it's working, and still nothing on the Twitters. Let's see. Okay, there it is. So we are up on Twitter. It looks like things are operational there. Come on. We've had a lot of internet issues lately, and I'm not really sure what to do about it except call up somebody on the phone and yell at them. I did hear back from the New York elections office, the City of New York elections office, via my... or vis-a-vis my Freedom of Information Act request. And I found out some interesting stuff, nothing incriminating. But then they also followed up in an email that I wasn't supposed to see. So I'll be telling stories about that later. Okay, Stephanie's here. Yeah, I think we've got limited visibility on YouTube. Give me one more second and then we'll get going here because I want to hear this and I might as well share it with you guys. And here comes the YouTubes. Let's see if we can hear. All right. Okay, we're there. And we're just limited visibility for some reason. All right, well, let's get going with it. No time like the present, which is always what it is. I'm going to want to be able to hear this. Give me a second here because I couldn't hear that, guys. I want to be able to hear. And there we go. I was recording something else. Troops. There we go.
I'll be happy to take some questions now, if that's
questions.
Okay.
I thought he was scared of taking the questions. He's got a backdrop in his basement now. That's nice.
Put my list here. Everybody's sitting. Okay. ABC, Mary.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. You just said that when it comes to a vaccine, you don't trust Donald Trump. Is there a risk that that message, that questioning the president on a vaccine, could prevent people from trusting the science, from trusting a vaccine when there finally is one?
No, because they know he doesn't have any respect for scientists. He basically said it. You saw what he said when he was out in California about wildfires and scientists don't know and it's going to go away like a miracle. It's necessary so people can trust the vaccine. And that's why I said that you have to have this board of scientists that are going to say, this is why we think this is a good vaccine, why it's approved, and it has to be total transparency. So scientists outside the government know exactly what is being approved, the context in which it's being approved, and why it's being approved. I think it's the only thing that takes care of that.
For a vaccine to work, though, to be effective, you do need a certain amount of the population to be willing to take it. You're saying, don't trust the president, trust me if I'm elected. Are you confident that enough Americans will buy in?
Trust the scientist.
Yeah.
Trust the scientist.
He did not say trust me.
It's one thing for Donald Trump to say the vaccine is safe. Okay, then give it to the board of scientists. Have total transparency so independent operators and scientists and companies go out and take a look at it. And what did you base that decision on? What did you do? Did you pressure the head of the FDA? Did you pressure whomever? I'm not saying you would or will, but that's what has to happen. Because you know yourself, you all know the polls better than I do. The American people right now don't trust what the president says about things relating to science.
And if the scientists say a vaccine under the president's watch is safe and effective,
Absolutely.
we'll take it?
Do it. Yes. If those 3 questions I laid out can be answered, yes, absolutely. Caitlin, CBS.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Just a quick follow-up on that. You say that you don't trust the president. Does that mean you also don't trust the CDC and the FDA currently?
No. I don't trust some of the people, like the fella who just took a leave of absence from the CDC. He didn't run it, but he was a spokesperson for it. But there are some, when I met with the 7 scientists today on the screen here in this room, they told me the people that they had worked with in the CDC and the FDA and all the various agencies. And there's some very, very good people there in the ranks, the everyday folks that are not everyday, they're scientists, but the people who do the daily work in there. And there's some very, very good people. But you know from other items that they've been quashed in things they've said, and they've been pressured. The heads of those agencies, politically appointed, some of them, have been in fact moved to say, yes, we can do this or that, or this will work or that will work. It's a simple proposition. If a vaccine is ready to go, it should be totally transparent, the basis upon which that decision was made. What scientists have looked at it within the government and outside the government and said this is a useful, safe vaccine to take. And so that's all I'm saying. And that's going to be necessary, I'd respectfully suggest, no matter what I said in this process, because all the polling data shows now is something like only 30-some% of American people say if Trump said it's okay. This is the same guy that said inject bleach. This is the same guy that said, you know, you want to keep hurricanes from getting to the United States, why don't we drop a nuclear weapon on them? I mean, you know, there's a reason why they're not so certain.
A quick question on the economy. The Fed today announced that their projections for unemployment are actually going to be lower than expected. In polling, we see time and again that President Trump has an edge over you on the economy. Why do you think that is?
Well, because I don't think I've been out of office for 4 years, and they don't, you know, it's a long time, 4 years ago. We actually created more jobs in the last 3 years of our administration than he created in the first 4 years of his administration. We actually had more equitable distribution among middle-class folks and the like. There were fewer people at risk. But I think it's a matter of my being able to communicate my position on jobs and trade and what I would do. And, you know, for example, the World Trade Organization, he loves to batter us around, and we've supported the World Trade Organization, just ruled that his trade policies were illegal. Well, guess what? We went in, what, 14, 15, 16 times at the WTO, and we won every single time. Now, why should any American remember that? That was, you know, 5, 6, 7,
That's
8 years
actually
ago.
true.
So part of it is
Obama never lost in the
WTO, laying
WTO.
out for them what my plan for economic recovery is.
But if people have questions about the economic fallout from the pandemic now, you have said that you would have acted earlier. What do you say to people who might question how the economic impact could have been different? Even if you acted earlier, the social distancing and the closings would still be in place.
No, not necessarily, because you wouldn't be having the high rates of reinfection that we have now. You wouldn't be having 1,000 people a day die. You'd be able to open. We need national guidance as the basis upon which you can open up, and it varies within state to state. So you may very well be able to open up in a rural area, not a area that is a metropolitan area, or vice versa, because of the degree to which the virus is rampant in that area. We've not said anything out. We've not laid out, this administration has not laid out the criteria. There's no national criteria. What's the national criteria for opening schools? They still don't have one. You need a national criteria. And you need it to be able to be sure, excuse me, that you can open safely and securely. You can have social distancing. You can have the wearing of masks. You can have smaller classes. You need more teachers, a whole range of things. But why won't he lay out the guidance? And even when the CDC initially had stronger guidance, what happened?
They delayed it.
Political manipulation. Said, no, don't put those out. Don't put those out. Because the president was then saying, by the way, testing just causes more cases to show. It's about being honest. You know, he loves to quote Churchill, and he loves to quote Roosevelt. Well, you know, Roosevelt said in a crisis in World War II, he said it's going to get worse and worse and worse till it gets better and better and better. And the one thing you have to tell the American people, they're strong. Give it to them straight from the shoulder. They can handle anything. That's what I'll do. CNN, Jessica.
Thanks, Mr. Vice President. You mentioned the CDC director's comments this morning about the vaccine and about masks and how critical they are. You've previously called for a mask mandate, a national mask mandate. If you were elected, what steps would you take to put that in place, and how would that work?
Well, first of all, I found it fascinating the president said, and Biden didn't put in a mask mandate. I don't know how old he is, but I'm not the president. He's the president. It's like, you know, Biden's problems in these cities are inflamed. I'm not the president. He's the president. I would call all the governors to the White House and say, and because there's a question, I think it can be answered in the positive, a question whether I can mandate over state lines that every single state has to comply. Our legal team thinks I can do that based upon the degree to which there's a crisis in those states and how bad things are for the country.
There's an argument to be made there for interstate commerce.
But I would make the case.
Marbury versus Madison.
I'd make the case why
Barr
it's
has
necessary.
made that same
I'd have
argument.
a scientist to raid to lay out in detail
But
why.
it hasn't been pressed because
And I
the
would
president
go to
doesn't
every
want to shut
governor,
anything down.
And I'd go to governors related, Republican and Democratic governors, and I'd say, we have to have this national mandate. We must do it. And at a minimum, what I would do, I wouldn't walk around saying masks don't matter, like he said at your town hall. I think it was last night. I saw the tail end of it. That, well, masks. People don't like masks. A matter of fact, they could be worse. And I think, don't hold me to this because I didn't see it. I just saw it reported. And Stephanopoulos asked why. And he said, because waiters don't like them. Waiters touch the food and touch the mask. I mean, come on.
But what would happen if, say, a Republican governor pushed back on you on this? How do you get buy-in when it's become so politicized? Would you sign an executive order?
Well, the question is whether I have the legal authority as president to sign an executive order. We think we do, but I can't guarantee you that yet. Okay?
But if you did, you would.
If I
David, wearing masks is shutting down President Trump's ability to comprehend what a human being is saying, which is not open to begin with. So,
did, I would.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Number
wait,
5.
What did he say? I missed that because I was making some stupid
Politicized.
joke.
Would you sign an executive order?
Shut
Well,
up,
the
Kevin.
question is whether I have the legal authority as president to sign an executive order. We think we do, but I can't guarantee you that yet. Okay?
But if you did, you would.
If I did, I would.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Number 5, I have to call on my hometown paper, the News Journal. Meredith?
Sir, in terms of the distribution of the virus, communities of color have been greatly affected. Would they get access to the virus first? How would that work in terms of the distribution of Americans being able
Vaccine.
to get the virus?
Based on the proposal laid out by the experts I spoke with today.
She's so nervous. I just want to hug her. I just want to hug her from 6 feet away.
And the National Science Foundation is coordinating with the CDC and other agencies. They indicate that the first group of people that should get the vaccine, if and when it is available, are people at the greatest risk. And that includes everything from nursing homes to people with serious pre-existing
The right will attack her for softball questions, but
conditions that would cause people to be in real trouble. A lot of those people happen to be black and brown. And
obviously
so
pretty coked up.
It would be based upon the degree of exposure. It would go first, though, I would argue, but I'd have a scientific board lay it out for me. It would go first, as laid out for me today, to first responders, doctors, and nurses.
Can I just point out how amazing it is that they have 6 teleprompters for Joe? I mean, that's just prep work. I'm impressed.
The people who we're most needed to have available to deal with our crises, health as well as physical crises.
God, it looks like 8 to 10. He's looking up. He's looking all over the place. Way to go, DNC.
In our communities. That would be the first, and it would move to the least. Now, one thing that hasn't happened yet, and I don't want to, and I am not a scientist, although I hope I'm well informed on this issue. There have been no tests yet on children. So children, ironically, may be the last people to get the vaccine because it's going to take time, and they indicated to me in 2021, to be able to do the kind of testing on children. Children are less likely to die, although they can, and it's more likely that their teachers and the elderly grandparents, et cetera, would be exposed. So the first would go to the people most susceptible. But children are going to have to be part of this, but there's a lot more.
A reminder that Kayleigh McEnany was asked about this earlier today during the press briefing, and she wouldn't answer any of this because it's a hypothetical.
More work that has to be done. There have been no trials done yet on children.
And today the government released a plan on how they would, or a loose plan on how they would distribute the vaccine. If you were elected, would you reverse course on the plan that the federal government has already put in place?
No, they haven't put one in place for real yet, number one. Number two, I haven't seen the detail of it. It may be a very good plan as is, but what I would do is make sure that I brought in all of the experts to make sure what is the best and most rational means of distribution. Now look, there are two...
Poor Biden, he doesn't even know where he is. He has no idea. Can't put a sentence together.
Types of vaccines being worked on.
Look at that low energy. He's barely moving. He's leaning forward. He's going to fall asleep on the podium.
Now, one is an RNA model that are done by two of the operations. I think Moderna and I forget which one, who has the other one. And the other is an adenovirus, which is a way to generate the immune system to respond. One changes the cell structure. The one that deals with the mRNA, that requires 2 injections, and it requires to be stored at 70 degrees below zero. So in addition to all this, there are mechanical issues.
Some people are saying 80, possibly 90 degrees, which is something we've never seen before. A lot of people are saying... I think it could go as high as 100, 120 degrees, but I don't want to say that because of fake news media. Isn't this is pretty drastically different than what we've been used to the last 4 years? I don't know what to do. I'm at a loss here.
As to how and...
I had changed the name to the Life Stream. The Life with an F. And the F stands for fuck you all. It's from Kevin Lee Daughter.
Where the vaccine
there she is. Fuck you all.
Let's say the Moderna one is picked. Assuming that...
You come in here and say that, young lady. She's busy.
That the vaccine is approved. It's a very, very significant, difficult problem of how you distribute that vaccine. For example, you couldn't.
That's
you
true.
have to ship it in bulk if it's the...
One moment. Kevin Lee Daughter has a message for you.
Fuck you all.
It's true. You should all be fucked.
mRNA version. And that means of, thousands of 1,000 at a time kind of thing. That means it's going to go to hospitals and major medical distribution centers. It's not going to go to your doctor and you can't show up at Walgreens like I did no, I didn't. My doc gave it to me, but my flu shot. But I used to get my flu shot at Walgreens.
Oh, the right's going to have a field day with that, completely ignoring the substance of the...
Can't do that because you can't do it in small lots. You have to have 2 shots, 2 of them. And so my generic point is there are a lot of not only what...
Your organic point?
...is safe to do, but distribution issues that are consequential and matter a lot.
He doesn't know all the words that Trump has had changed since he got into office. That's what a president's able to do. You have the best words and you change the meanings.
And so it's not like, by the way, if I told you tomorrow, if I were president and said, we have approved the following 2 vaccines or 1 vaccine. Well, the vaccines that are likely to be approved so far or start off with a group of 10,000 doses all the way to 60,000 doses. Well, you know, there are millions of people. It's going to take, and then you can get up to several million, but it takes time, is what I'm saying. And it has to be done fairly and well. It can't be based on your tax returns, figuratively speaking. It's got to be based on...
Well, since technically no one has seen my tax returns, I guess I'm first in line.
Who is most vulnerable? Who is most vulnerable? Okay? Thank you all so very, very much. Thank you.
Is that it?
All right, you've been listening to Joe Biden, the presidential candidate, outlining his own plans to deal with the virus. Just to clarify a few things, he said that universal face masks could cut deaths in half, even though he was not calling for such a mandate, that he would meet with the nation's governor, assuming he were president of the United States, and hear what they had to say about this. Of course, some have balked at this, that in some states where the virus isn't much of a problem, that would probably be more of a burden than it would be a help. He also said that
He said that. He said some states may be at different levels, so thanks for clarifying what he said.
This idea of a vaccine could take quite a while, that it would take at least months to be fully distributed to the entire population, and on an order basis, not based on people's wealth. I'm sort of paraphrasing there, but the strategy
tax returns
that the Trump administration has, and in cooperation with the CDC and other health authorities, is that you attend to health workers first with a vaccine, those most vulnerable, including the elderly. So I don't know where he got the notion that somehow the Trump administration or others would target the richest to get such a vaccine first. He did say, by the way, trust vaccines, trust science, but do not trust Donald Trump. He also was talking about the economy itself and how it's not doing well, that the record certainly of the Obama-Biden years in the last 3 years were better than the first 3 years of Trump. You can pick and choose, of course, your periods in which you want to talk about job growth and everything that disintegrated, of course, after the COVID-19 pandemic hit. But the fact of the matter is, we average presidents out over their entire time in office. To be fair, the Obama-Biden team inherited a meltdown when they came into office, and we were bleeding jobs at the rate of 1 million a month. That eventually turned around, but the average, if you look at it 8 years, was among the more anemic job recoveries we've seen in U.S. history. So I just wanted to make sure.
Still, we can take those, and if you look over the term from the downward point of the recovery until the end of the Obama administration, higher job growth per month than under Trump. You can do it either way. Obama still comes out ahead. And just a reminder, Joe Biden wasn't the president. So there's also that. Okay.
Sure, we're comparing apples to apples, oranges to oranges, and when it comes to the virus and whether all...
Now everything is compared to oranges. Oranges. That's the only thing that can be compared with Trump.
Vaccines are going to be tested. Whatever you think of the president, whether you think this is politicized, they all go through a rigorous testing process. Doesn't AstraZeneca know that? Its own vaccine was halted after some problems in phase 3 trials that were going on there.
Right, but we also had the leader of the FDA, Dr. Stephen Hahn, coming out saying that remdesivir had an effective rate of 34%, which is only a 1,000% exaggeration of the actual effective rate of efficacy. I think that's it for now. I think Trump's coming up pretty soon here, and I want to shower and get some stuff done because I still haven't, and it's 1:30 in the afternoon. Joe just kind of surprised me on this. Well, it didn't surprise me. I knew he was coming. I don't mean to brag. But I thought, well, why not? Why not share it with you guys? Okay. So we're going to be back in just a few minutes, and I don't think I can play this because Joe has just been on, but I love it so much I'm going to play it anyway.
Where are you going?
Kevin, is this helpful to Joe Biden?
Wait, what?